Release Rewind. So let's get right into Release Rewind. What is Release Rewind? Well, Release Rewind is where I take a look at all the movies that came out 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So, taking a look back at 2014, we only had a couple movies open in 2014. And these movies aren't the biggest films in the world, but they're pretty big by standards. So let's take a look at this. Haven't seen either of these films. They weren't massive hits. They're pretty much forgotten about films, but let's get into it. Let me pull this up here. So the first film we had released in 2014 was a little action film starring Pierce Brosnan called The November Man, followed by a little horror film. A horror film that came out that I haven't seen. I know a few people have seen, and they really do enjoy it. And that movie is As Above, So Below. So that is 2014. 2004 is a bit more of a well-known package. 2004, we had a lot of films come out. This is the 20th anniversary of these films. So, in 2004, we had this film come out. Once I get the picture to come up. We had this film that was not very well received, but people did see it, and they acknowledge it's a very weak sequel. Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid. Followed by a little film that some people know, but one film that other people do know for the wrong reasons. We have, where are you? Here we go. We have Hero. Hero is there. But let's just say what it is. Let's just say what it is. We know what everybody was really looking forward to. Not this next film, but the film after that. Let's get into that. So we had Hero, but we also had a little film called Suspect Zero. But the best film that came out that entire weekend, yes, I'm being facetious, Super Babies. Baby Geniuses 2. I'm being funny. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I swear I'm kidding. Don't hate me. It's okay. And there was one other film, but it was on the lower end of it. It wasn't where the wide releases are, where I get this information from, and that is Napoleon Dynamite. Napoleon Dynamite came out 20 years ago this weekend. So now we move on to 1994. 1994 has a few films that came out in theaters. One we talked about last week, Corrina opened wide. But this one is a bit more of a more beloved film. Natural Born Killers. Natural Born Killers came out August 26th, 1994. Followed by a film that I will be hopefully watching this week, Wagons East, with John Candy and Richard Lewis. Having not seen this film, I'm looking forward to seeing it. But then we also have one film that I think some people do remember, and that is Camp Nowhere. Also, It's Pat. It's Pat and Camp Nowhere turn 30 years old this weekend. So, that brings us to the last few films. While we do have a couple smaller films in limited release, like a Police Academy, Mission to Moscow, as well as some films to talk about next week, we move on to 1984. 1984 was not as big of a year as 94 or 2014. So going down there, we only have a couple of films to talk about. And they're not very well known. One of them is Flashpoint with Chris Christopherson and Treat Williams. Also the other one. Did I even pull it? Oh yeah. Bolero. I believe that's how you say it. Bolero. And then we go down. We had nothing. We had nothing come out in 1974. Nothing came out in 1974 that was a big enough film for me to consider talking about. 1964, on the other hand, oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, yes, there was something in 74. Sorry. 1974 was this little football film, The Longest Yard. I'm a football guy. We're going into football. We're going in the first week of football season. Go Steelers. Yeah! Steelers football time, baby. But we go down a little bit more. And I did not pull this poster for some reason, but it is going to be Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins came out 60 years ago today. August 27th, 1964. And the final film that we're going to talk about came out, I believe it was August 25th, celebrating its 85th anniversary, one of the greatest films ever made, The Wizard of Oz. Happy 85th anniversary to The Wizard of Oz, one of the best films ever made. Ever made.